Hello and welcome to the video. This is a video that I'm making for one of my patrons, Patreon called Eddie. So Eddie, this one is for you. However, it's been on my list for a while, but it's Eddie's message that kind of gave me the kick up the backside to actually make it. And it's specifically aimed at all of you who are starting to use ExpressLRS, that wonderful open source, non-proprietary radio control system with something like a fixed wing model, whether that's a full plane or a wing or even a car or a boat. Now in ExpressLRS version 3.0, they added lots of new features to give more full resolution channels outside of the first four, and they've also now done lots of cool things, and there's lots of PWM receivers available. That means there's plenty of options to plug them into a plane. You can also bind multiple receivers to a radio, which means that you can have tons and tons of PWM outputs for even complicated setups. However, there are a number of things that you need to be aware of, because the ExpressLRS system, when it was originally envisaged, was kind of designed for drone racing, for beta flight quads, and it has been evolving and kind of expanding in terms of its capabilities, because we keep asking the developers to include these new features. So I'm going to put all of the tips and tricks that I use here for when I use ExpressLRS with a fixed wing model without a flight controller or stabilizer, so that they're all in one place. And Eddie, this will also answer your question about what to do with throttle cut 2. There are two modes on the radio that are really designed for those of us that want to use PWM receivers, the 100 Hz and the 333 Hz modes. They're both called full modes, and what that gives you is full channel resolution outside of the first four channels. By default, if you're using any of the other modes, then you get the first four channels as full 10-bit channels, 1024 positions, and then you get channel 5 as a binary position that's used for arming. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then the other channels can be set to all kinds of different things, 64, 128 or more. However, for those of us using PWM, we absolutely want all the channels to be full resolution, which is why these two modes exist. So if you're using a PWM receiver, irrespective of what kind of craft it's in, select either 100 Hz or the 333 Hz full modes to get the benefit. What that means, if you're using an 8-channel setup on the radio, then channels 1 to 4 and also channels 6 to 9 are going to be sent as standard 10-bit channels. That's 1024 positions, which is your kind of regular resolution. If you're using 16 channels, which for big complicated models you might be, it means that all 16 channels are 10-bit, but what it does is it sends them alternatively, so you don't get all channels updated every time the radio talks to the receiver. That adds a little bit of latency. If you go for a 12-channel setup, then channels 1 to 4 are full speed, and then channels 6 to 13 are still 10-bit, but they're sent alternatively as well. Personally, I'd recommend, if you want the maximum speed and resolution, I'd probably go for 333 Hz and 8 channels only, and that means that every channel is sent every time and you get the full 10-bit resolution. However, every single one of those, you'll notice that it's not just talking about channel 5, and at the moment as I'm recording this with ExpressLRS version 3.3, channel 5 continues to be a bit of a legacy thing from those early days with beta flight and quadcopter style models, in that it needs to be high in order for the ExpressLRS system to kind of burst into life. The way ExpressLRS works currently is that it's in kind of a standby mode until it sees channel 5 go high, then it turns on all the dynamic power and all the other goodness. Basically, it's then ready to go and fly around. So whenever you are going to use the model, channel 5 needs to be high. Now you could just set channel 5 to be high using a max setting like I'm showing here on the screen right now. The way that I would recommend you do it, and this is finally getting around to Eddie's question, in the radio you are setting up a throttle cut switch as you would normally. So typically channel 3 on a PWM receiver, if it's set for AETR, is going to be your throttle. By making, when you flick the throttle cut switch, it's going to send channel 3 or whichever throttle channel you have set up to be -100, and that's going to essentially make sure that the throttle can't be activated. However, with ExpressLRS there's an extra step. I would also use that exact same switch, so when it's not in the throttle hold position, it's going to turn channel 5 high. That is the way that I would do it here, and then that means that as soon as you disable the throttle cut, then the ExpressLRS system bursts into life and is ready to fly. Now that of course means that, well, hang on a minute, does that mean that channel 5 on the receiver is a waste of time then? No, because the cool thing is on modern PWM receivers, if you leave them for 60 seconds by default, they will create a Wi-Fi access point. You can go on there and you can actually go into the actual mapping of how the outputs are mapped to the individual physical pins on that receiver. And I would recommend for the moment is just make sure that channel 5 is just removed, so the 5th output becomes channel 6 and so on. And in the future there are moves afoot for ExpressLRS to drop the whole channel 5 having to be high, things to be armed, but for now you kind of have to work around that. So I would make sure that any throttle cut that you set up for a fixed wing model is also going to handle sending channel 5 high, so that the ExpressLRS stuff is in like full power active mode. But also I would then make sure that your failsafe is also set as well. It's just like any other system, and make sure that the throttle is low, so that when you lose contact with the model, if that ever happens, then the model will be safe, the throttle will turn off, and the model will glide to the ground. Hopefully that's useful for those of you that are looking at the fixed wing stuff. Those are my big tips. Use the 100 Hz full or the 333 Hz full. I would recommend just use 8 channels if you want full resolution and the fastest speed with the lowest latency. Make sure that channel 5 is going high when you're ready to fly, and I would use the throttle cut switch to do both jobs. And also go into the receiver and have a little play and remove channel 5 from the outputs, because it's essentially a bit of a waste of time at the moment with fixed wing, and just skip that one and just set it up so that channel 6 is where channel 5 is, and so on, so you don't waste an output. Thank you for watching the video. If you watch my videos and find them useful, then please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. If you really like what I'm doing here, you can become a Patreon and support the time I spend helping others and get access to lots of exclusive benefits. Link is in the video description. Remember that all the videos on the channel are organized into playlists, so you can easily use those playlists to find all the videos on a subject that you are interested in. Add Painless 360 to your searches on Google and YouTube, and it'll help you find my content for any particular topic. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy flying.